number 3, placing on the land tax. Now, you don't have that exhibit because I have a couple of legal questions that I don't have resolved yet. However, that's basically the way to pay it.
There seem, we've got 2 major issues here in front of us, and obviously we don't have the deal in place yet for the stockpile. So we have a little, we have some more time with that. But I'm concerned about having the general fund owed $500,000. I mean, we can't allow that to continue.
That's correct.
That's just not a situation that can go forward. We've got to do something about that.
Yeah, because what happened, to be honest with you, it now drains the general fund of any excess money, which we're now getting very close to. That excess money is only the money that the sewer owes the general fund, and the sewer can't pay it. So you're absolutely right.
Well, I agree with Mel and Marcia's concern there, and I want to fix that. I guess I have a question. I think I know the answer, but hopefully it's something different. Our rate structure goes up depending on the amount that you use. So if you're using X amount and that increases, you're going to pay more based on the rates, whereas your assessment is flat. So a larger user will pay more than a smaller user. The assessments, however, are a flat rate that is there no matter how much you use. So, I mean, raising the assessment to 100 from 70 is going to have the greatest impact on our smallest users, which tend to be those people on fixed income who use the very smallest amount of sewage or water. So their bills are now going to go up a lot more than someone who might be using more sewers. Is there any way we can reconcile that? I don't think there is. I can't think of anything. But
well,
you understand my concern there?
Yes, sure. The fact, first of all, we got to take these things in 2 parts. Disregarding the $5 million for a moment, the first process of shifting fees and shifting the operations to the average homeowner is not going to make that much of a difference. Because, in effect, what we are doing is increasing their quarterly fee, but reducing their sewer costs for operations. Now, is it dollar for dollar? The next step would be, once we get close to which way we want to go, is to take 12, 15, 20 examples of different usages and see how much that makes a difference. Obviously, we would want to do some sort of sample to find out if indeed, if we if we raise the assessment and lower the operations, that indeed that we are not affecting the normal homeowner.
I guess maybe.
I mean, the other option that you might suggest is let's do it the whole thing on usage, and therefore change everything based on total usage. And that could be done. You're going to raise the rates, and the people who use it the most will pay the most.
Perhaps lowering the minimum amount on the rate structure. I forget what that is. I think $15, maybe more.
Absolutely.
Like that. Maybe that could be lower, so people on the very low end, where they're getting that automatic assessment increase, would get a better decrease on the lowest. I don't know.
There's hybrids to all of this.
Right.
The problem is you can have 15 options then to choose one.
Right.
But if you get a feeling for a direction, then we can kind of say, okay, this one's out, this one's out. We're going to focus in on this one. Let's take a sample and see what that means to the average homeowner. Now, a lot of the people who are paying the higher fees, in other words, the multi-users, the multi-units rather, don't necessarily use more water. I mean, many times the multi-users could be offices. Offices traditionally don't use as much water as a household. They use the bathroom facilities and maybe some water, but they don't have the shower and the washing machines and the pools and the lawns and those type of things. So many times multi-users don't necessarily use more water. So we would probably take a look at what's a multi-user on the average, and there are about 30 different categories between single-family homes all the way up to 99 units. What are they paying for their fee versus what are they paying for usage, and what happens if we raise or lower some of those? So in order to come to a consensus, we would probably have to do some sampling of people who have 1 unit, 5 units, 15 units, 90 units, etc.
So the third variable for evaluation would have to be basically solely on use.
That would be the fourth. The third would be on the land, which I didn't give you.
Okay.
Yes. And then again, there are other issues that come into the play here. Number one, if the bonds were being paid on the real estate bills, either for the land or the buildings, it would be very clear to people that they can deduct that on their personal income tax. Whereas now, the assessment fees, although they are quote deductible on their personal income tax, may not necessarily be so readily obvious to many people. For example, many people are doing itemized deductions on their personal income tax, take the real estate taxes off their escrow mortgage, and use that number. Meanwhile, the $280 is never being deducted. The multi-users, where there are rentals, are clearly doing that. Okay. So sometimes you want to take a look at that. The second item that's in favor of using a land tax specifically, if legal, and I believe it is, but I want to double check, is that everybody pays on their land, because the sewer improvement is on everybody, including tax exempts, including people who have just a piece of land. So everybody gets taxed, because that sewer improvement is technically an improvement to their land, because they can always have it. So there are other issues besides just to complicate things even more. Sorry. So the question on the first proposal is for you to think about and kind of decide. I like the idea that Kyle just mentioned. Maybe we should do it all users. We should probably investigate and do some sort of samples. We could take a look at the land tax and see how it affects the average homeowner versus, let's see, I did the average homeowner. The average homeowner, I did it for the $5 million bond, and I'll explain that. And then on the assessment. To be honest with you, on the assessment for the buildings, I did a couple of examples for myself. And I can tell you right now that was never going to be acceptable. The reason for that is people have multiple units, rental properties, are obviously going to pay a lot less towards the bonds. So the land tax, use, total use, or the way it's been going, the fees.
So in order for me to make an enlightened decision here, is the next step for you to do samples from each one of us?
Well, I would, yes, but the first thing I think I would like to see is a decision on the bond for the land remediation, whether we're going to do 15, 20, 30, or do a series of BANs. I think that decision would come first because we really want to tie all this together.
Like with the stockpile location, one of the things that we've been talking about for a long time is after we're able to get some kind of resolution, move the dirt, to market the property, potentially sell it, get a business there, put on the tax rolls, hoping that down the line the revenue from selling the property can offset some of the costs we're going to spend. If, for example, we took money from the sewer fund and we got a loan to the sewer fund, regardless of number of years, BAN, etc., and used that, and then down when we sold the property and had that revenue coming in. Since the cost of actually remediating would be coming out of the sewer fund, the revenue from the land would be going in the general fund, there would be no way for us to get relief from that.